Martha was not the kind of person anyone expected to see in a jiu-jitsu gym. She was 68 years old, with soft white hair tied neatly into a bun and glasses that rested gently on her nose. Her movements were slow but steady, and she always wore a calm smile on her face. Most people would have guessed she was there to pick up her grandson, or maybe ask for directions, but no. Martha had come for one reason: to learn Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. The gym was full of younger people, fit, strong, full of energy. They wore colorful giais and practiced takedowns, chokes, and submissions with loud shouts and laughter. They stretched their muscles like rubber bands, moved like panthers, and sweated like it was a battlefield. So when Martha walked in wearing simple workout clothes and quietly asked the receptionist to join the beginner class, everyone paused for a moment. The receptionist blinked. "You mean, for yourself?" Martha nodded with a polite smile. "Yes, for myself." Word spread fast through the gym. A few students smirked. Some whispered to each other. One of them, a young guy named Trevor, laughed a little too loudly and said, "Is she lost or something?" Another girl chuckled and replied, "Maybe she thinks this is a yoga class." Martha didn't react. She simply removed her shoes, stepped onto the mat, and sat in the corner, waiting for class to begin. Coach Daniel, the head instructor, noticed her from across the room. He was a serious man in his 40s with a black belt around his waist and years of experience in the sport. He walked over and introduced himself politely. "Hi, I'm Daniel. Are you sure you're in the right place?" Martha nodded again. "Yes, I am. I've wanted to return to jiu-jitsu for a long time." Coach Daniel raised an eyebrow but said nothing. He had seen all types of students before, but never anyone like Martha. Still, he believed everyone deserved a chance. "All right then, welcome." The class started with warm-ups, jumping jacks, push-ups, rolls, and shrimping drills. Martha joined in with everyone, moving at her own pace. Her body wasn't as fast as the others. She struggled during the shrimping drill and couldn't do a proper push-up. A few students laughed quietly behind her back. Trevor nudged his friend and whispered, "She's gonna quit before next week," but Martha wasn't paying attention to any of that. She listened carefully to Coach Daniel's instructions, watching every movement he showed. When he explained how to break grips or escape from mount, she focused like a student in school. She didn't talk much, didn't show off, and never made excuses. She just watched, tried, and kept going. At the end of the class, when everyone was tired and sweaty, Martha bowed and thanked the coach. She stayed behind to help clean the mats with a wet towel, even though no one asked her to. Some students were already leaving, joking about her again. "I think she's just bored in retirement," someone said. "Maybe she watches UFC and thinks she's the next Ronda Rousey." Coach Daniel, however, was beginning to notice something. Yes, Martha was older, slower, and less flexible than the others, but she had something most beginners didn't: patience. While others rushed through techniques or joked during drills, Martha was steady, focused, and humble. She didn't care about being better than anyone else. She cared about learning. The next class, she came again. And the next, and the one after that. It didn't matter if it was raining or cold or the class was tough. Martha showed up every single time. She wore the same quiet smile and the same simple workout clothes. Slowly, her movements improved. She could shrimp across the mat now, even if not perfectly. She could roll without getting dizzy. She asked smart questions after class, and she always stayed to clean up. Still, many students didn't take her seriously. They thought she was just being cute, like an old lady playing around. No one imagined she was capable of real jiu-jitsu. The more athletic students ignored her. Even Coach Daniel sometimes forgot to pair her with stronger partners, thinking she would get hurt, but not everyone dismissed her. A shy, quiet student named Eli noticed her. He was new too, not very confident, and often stayed on the edges of the group. One day he sat beside Martha during a break. Why did you choose Jiu-Jitsu? He asked softly. Martha smiled. Because I missed it. You did it before? Eli looked surprised. She nodded. A long time ago, in Brazil. Eli didn't say anything more. He didn't know much about jiu-jitsu history, but something about the way Martha said it made him curious. She wasn't bragging. She wasn't trying to impress him. She just said it like a fact, as natural as saying she liked tea or gardening. The next time they partnered for drills, Eli noticed that Martha's movements weren't clumsy like before. They were careful and calculated. She didn't fight for speed. She flowed. When she gripped his GI to break posture, it wasn't strong, but it was precise. When she escaped from mount, it was slow but smooth. Eli began to wonder if there was more to her story than anyone knew. Still, most students didn't see this. They only saw an old lady in a beginner class who moved slowly and didn't talk much. They kept calling her Granny Grappler behind her back. They thought it was harmless fun. Some even joked that Coach Daniel should put her in a wheelchair guard position instead of closed guard. Martha ignored all of it. She just kept showing up week after week. She never talked about her past, never asked for special treatment, and never responded to the teasing. She let them laugh. She let them underestimate her. And quietly, in the background, she studied every move, every technique, and every student. One night after class, she stayed behind a little longer than usual. Coach Daniel noticed her practicing a collar choke against the wall, slowly repeating the steps. He walked over. "You've been practicing that a lot," he said. Martha nodded. "It was one of the first techniques I ever learned." "You've done this before, haven't you?" he asked. She paused for a moment, then said softly, "Yes. I trained when I was younger, with a teacher named Fabiano in Rio de Janeiro." Coach Daniel's eyes widened slightly. He had heard that name before. Master Fabiano was one of the early students of the Gracie family, a legend in the jiu-jitsu world. But Martha didn't say anything more. She just smiled and added, "It's been a long time, though. I forgot a lot." Coach Daniel didn't push further, but something inside him began to shift. Maybe this old woman wasn't just here to pass time. Maybe she had come back to finish something she started long ago. And so Martha kept coming. She kept drilling. She kept learning. While others were busy showing off, trying to tap each other out, or recording videos for Instagram, Martha was slowly rebuilding her lost skill. Quietly, patiently, and without needing anyone's approval. What no one knew was that the quiet, old woman they laughed at was a storm waiting to rise. And the day she showed her true strength would change the entire gym forever. Martha's presence in the jiu-jitsu gym had become a small but steady part of the daily routine. Every time she stepped onto the mat, there was a mixture of curiosity, doubt, and quiet respect growing among some of the students. Yet for most, she remained a mystery, a fragile old woman trying to keep up in a young person's sport. But beneath her calm exterior, there was a story no one yet understood. At first, most students treated Martha like a joke. They whispered to each other during breaks, sharing funny nicknames like Granny Grappler or Old Timer. Some even made small bets about how long she would last before quitting. After all, the warm-ups were exhausting, the moves complicated, and the speed of the younger students overwhelming. Martha didn't seem to complain, but her slow, steady pace was easy for others to mock. Still, Martha never stopped coming. The early mornings, the sore muscles, the bruises, she endured them all with quiet determination. While others focused on competition or flashy moves, she was learning the fundamentals. Every week, she practiced escaping holds, breaking grips, and rolling with lighter partners to improve her timing and technique. One day, Eli, a shy young man new to the gym, noticed something different about her. He had seen beginners come and go quickly, but Martha was different. She always asked thoughtful questions and never gave up, no matter how tough the drills. One afternoon during a break, Eli gathered courage and sat next to her. "How long have you been doing jiu-jitsu?" he asked quietly. Martha looked at him and smiled gently. "A long time ago, many years ago, in Brazil." She paused, as if remembering a distant memory. "I trained under Master Fabiano in Rio de Janeiro." Eli blinked. "Fabiano? That's a famous name. He's a legend in Brazilian jiu-jitsu." Martha nodded slowly. "Yes, he was my teacher. But I stopped when life took over. I had a family to care for, and I lost touch with jiu-jitsu." Eli listened, fascinated. "Why did you come back now?" She looked down at her hands and said, softly, "Because something inside me never left. I wanted to feel alive again." The story surprised Eli. He never thought an old woman could have such a serious past in a sport dominated by young people. But Martha wasn't bragging. She was simply sharing a part of her life that few knew. Meanwhile, in the gym, the other students kept whispering and watching. They still teased her, but their tone was changing. Some began to notice that Martha was improving. Her movements were becoming smoother, her escapes faster, and her confidence stronger. When she rolled with other beginners, she rarely got caught. Instead, she used careful technique and timing to get out of tough spots. Coach Daniel watched too. He had trained many students, but Martha's steady progress intrigued him. He started pairing her with different partners, watching closely to see how she handled more skilled opponents. Sometimes she struggled, but she never gave up or got angry. Instead, she listened, learned, and tried again. One evening, after class had ended and the gym was quiet, Martha stayed behind. She began practicing a complicated choke technique, moving slowly but precisely. Coach Daniel approached her quietly and said, "You've been practicing this a lot." She smiled. "It was one of the first techniques I learned when I started jiu-jitsu." Daniel looked surprised. "You must have trained for a long time before?" "Yes," Martha said softly. "Before life changed everything." That night, Daniel thought about what she said. He wondered why Martha had kept her past a secret. Was she afraid of being judged? Did she think no one would believe her? Or maybe she just didn't want to talk about it. At the same time, Eli told a few close friends about Martha's story. They were amazed. They looked at her differently now, not as an old woman trying to keep up, but as someone with deep knowledge and real experience. Slowly, respect grew. The gym's atmosphere started to shift. People stopped laughing so loudly when Martha joined sparring. Some even asked her for advice on how to improve their technique. The young athletes were surprised to learn that Martha knew details and moves they had never heard of. Despite this, some still doubted. A few students whispered that maybe Martha was lucky, or that she hadn't faced real competition in years. They couldn't believe that she could be dangerous on the mat. Martha didn't try to prove them wrong. She let her actions speak for themselves. She kept coming to class, learning and growing stronger in her own way. Her humility and patience made a quiet statement. Skill and heart don't fade with age. As weeks passed, some of the students who had mocked her began to realize they had underestimated her. They noticed how she could hold her ground when pressured, and how her timing was nearly perfect. It wasn't about strength or speed. It was about knowledge, experience, and calm under pressure. One day during a free roll session, a black belt, named Travis, known for his confidence and quick submissions, watched Martha move with interest. He had never rolled with her, but he had heard the rumors. With a smirk, he said loudly, "I'll roll with Granny Grappler. 10 seconds max." The room fell silent. Everyone knew Travis was a skilled fighter, and they were curious to see what Martha would do. Martha smiled gently and accepted the challenge. There was no fear or anger in her eyes, only quiet confidence. She calmly tied her belt and stepped onto the mat. In that moment, the story of the quiet old woman who had been laughed at for weeks was about to change forever. What no one knew was that Martha had been preparing all along. Beneath her gentle smile and slow movements was the heart of a warrior who had never forgotten her roots. This part of the story shows us that appearances can be deceiving. Sometimes those who seem weakest carry the greatest strength inside. Martha was not just an old woman learning a new hobby. She was a master waiting for the right moment to show the world what she truly could do. The gym was buzzing that evening with energy and chatter. It was a special open mat night, a time when students of all skill levels could come together, practice freely, and challenge each other in friendly matches. People were laughing, joking, and pushing their limits. Among them, Martha sat quietly on the sidelines, her calm presence almost unnoticed amid the excitement. For weeks, she had been a part of the gym's life, always steady, always patient. But tonight, something different was about to happen. It started when Coach Daniel, the head instructor, decided to lighten the mood by inviting challenges. "Anyone want to test their skills against someone else?" he asked, scanning the room. A few eager students shouted out, ready to prove their strength. But then Travis, the confident black belt known for his quick finishes and cocky attitude, called out, "I'll roll with Martha. 10 seconds max." The room erupted in laughter. People couldn't believe it. Travis was one of the best fighters in the gym, known for finishing matches with flashy moves in seconds. Martha, on the other hand, was the elderly beginner everyone thought was slow and weak. The idea seemed ridiculous. Some even shook their heads, certain it would be a quick and easy win for Travis. Coach Daniel raised an eyebrow but decided to allow the match. It was all in good fun, and he wanted to see how Martha would handle the challenge. Martha stood up slowly, her movements deliberate but steady. She smiled gently and nodded at Travis, signaling she was ready. The atmosphere grew quiet, the laughter fading into anticipation. People pulled out their phones, ready to record what they thought would be a quick victory for Travis. The gym felt tense, as if everyone was holding their breath. They bowed to each other in respect, then took their positions on the mat. Travis moved confidently, flexing his muscles and showing off his speed. Martha, however, remained calm and composed, her eyes steady and focused. At the sound of the start, Travis rushed forward with his usual speed, aiming to take Martha down and finish the match quickly. But Martha was ready. Instead of reacting with strength, she moved with careful precision. Her body flowed smoothly as she slipped inside Travis's guard, a position where the person on the bottom controls the legs and arms of the opponent. On top, Travis was surprised. He hadn't expected her to be so quick or skilled. Before he could react, Martha trapped one of his arms and shifted her hips, setting up an armbar, a classic submission hold designed to lock the opponent's arm and cause pain if they don't tap out. The move was textbook perfect, a technique Martha had practiced countless times. Travis struggled, trying to escape, but Martha's grip was firm and her angle was just right. The pressure built fast, and before Travis could find a way out, he tapped his hand against the mat, signaling surrender. The entire gym fell silent. No one could believe what had just happened. The timer on someone's phone showed only 9.8 seconds had passed. Martha had submitted a black belt in less than 10 seconds. Travis stood up, his face flushed with embarrassment. He avoided eye contact, clearly humbled by the swift defeat. Martha, calm as ever, adjusted her GI and walked off the mat as if it was just another day. She didn't celebrate or boast. She simply accepted the moment with quiet dignity. "Coach," Daniel approached her quietly and asked, "Where did you learn that?" Martha looked at him with a soft smile and said, "From Master Fabiano, back in Rio. A long time ago." The gym exploded with whispers. Master Fabiano was a legendary figure. In the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, one of the earliest students of the famous Gracie family. To hear that Martha had trained with him was like hearing a secret from the past come alive. The video of the match quickly spread beyond the gym. Students posted it online, and it went viral within days. People all over the jiu-jitsu community, were amazed. A quiet old woman had just shown the power of experience, skill, and patience in a way no one expected. Martha's story became a symbol of respect. It reminded everyone that age and appearance don't define strength or ability. The gym's culture began to change, with students now looking at Martha with admiration rather than doubt. Travis, humbled and eager to learn, even asked Martha if she would mentor him privately. She agreed, and the two began working together, bridging generations and styles. Coach Daniel, impressed by her skills and history, quietly promoted Martha to purple belt after reviewing her past training. It was a sign of recognition, not just for her technique, but for her spirit and dedication. Martha continued training, no longer just the old woman everyone laughed at, but a respected figure known as Professor Martha. New students sought her guidance, and her presence inspired many to never underestimate the quiet strength inside. And every time a newcomer doubted her, the older students would just smile knowingly and say, "You'll see." This night was more than just a match. It was the moment Martha proved that true mastery is not about speed or youth, but about heart, knowledge, and the courage to keep going no matter what others think. The victory that Martha achieved over Travis was more than just a surprising moment. It became a turning point in the gym and in Martha's life. After the match, the entire atmosphere changed. Students who had once mocked her now looked at her with respect, and the nickname Granny Grappler faded away, replaced by Professor Martha, or the Quiet Storm. But this change didn't happen overnight or without effort. It was a journey that unfolded slowly, filled with new challenges, discoveries, and deeper connections. Martha, now recognized as a skilled practitioner, didn't let the attention go to her head. Instead, she remained humble and focused on her own path. She knew that winning once didn't mean she had mastered everything. Jiu-Jitsu was a lifelong learning process, and she wanted to keep growing no matter her age. The young black belt, Travis, who had been humbled by his defeat, approached Martha after class. He was nervous but sincere. "Professor Martha," he said, "I want to learn from you. Can you teach me some of your techniques?" Martha smiled softly. "Of course, Travis. We all have something to learn from each other." From that day on, Martha began mentoring students, especially those who were new or struggling. Her teaching style was patient and gentle but very effective. She emphasized fundamentals, position, timing, and control. Rather than flashy moves, she helped others understand that Jiu-Jitsu was about using the right technique at the right moment, not just strength or speed. Her lessons often included stories from her past training in Brazil. She shared memories of Master Fabiano, who had taught her the importance of respect, discipline, and humility. These stories inspired her students, giving them a deeper appreciation for the art they practiced. Martha's presence brought a new sense of community to the gym. Students of all ages started talking more, supporting each other, and learning together. Some beginners found courage watching her, realizing that age was not a barrier to starting something new or getting better. Coach Daniel also noticed big changes. The gym was becoming more inclusive and respectful, thanks in part to Martha's example. He began to invite her to help teach classes, and even asked her to lead special workshops on fundamental techniques. It was clear that her wisdom and experience were valuable beyond just her skills on the mat. Outside the gym, Martha's story continued to inspire many people. Videos of her match with Travis spread on social media, gaining thousands of views, and messages of encouragement from around the world. People admired her for proving that strength comes from knowledge and determination, not just youth or muscle. Despite the newfound respect and attention, Martha's personal life remained quiet and simple. She still lived alone in her small house, took care of her garden, and enjoyed peaceful walks in the park. But inside, she felt more alive than ever. Jiu-Jitsu had given her purpose and joy, connecting her to a community that valued her for who she was. One afternoon, after a particularly intense class, Martha sat down with Eli, the shy young student who had first noticed her potential. Eli was struggling with confidence and doubted his own abilities. "Professor Martha," Eli said, "sometimes I feel like I'll never be good enough. I'm too slow, too weak." Martha looked at him kindly and said, "Eli, Jiu-Jitsu isn't about being the fastest or strongest. It's about patience, learning, and believing in yourself. You don't have to be perfect, just keep showing up and doing your best." Eli smiled, feeling encouraged by her words. He realized that the journey was more important than the destination. As months passed, Martha's skills grew even stronger. She began to combine her old knowledge with new techniques she learned from the gym. She developed her own style, calm, precise, and efficient. She could move quickly when needed, but mostly she relied on her understanding of leverage, timing, and positioning. One day, during a seminar hosted by a visiting jiu-jitsu master, Martha was invited to demonstrate a series of techniques. The gym was packed with students eager to learn from her. She showed the basics of escapes, submissions, and counters, explaining each step clearly and patiently. The audience was amazed at her skill and teaching ability. After the seminar, many students came up to thank her and ask questions. Martha answered each one with warmth and encouragement. She had become more than just a student. She was a mentor, a leader, and a symbol of resilience. However, Martha's journey wasn't without challenges. Sometimes she faced physical pain and fatigue. Her body was older, and recovery took longer. There were days when her knees ached or her back was stiff. But she never used these as excuses. Instead, she adapted her training, focusing more on technique and less on brute force. Martha also encountered skepticism from outside the gym. Some people couldn't believe an elderly woman could compete with younger fighters. They questioned whether she was really capable or if her story was exaggerated. But Martha didn't mind. She knew that true strength wasn't about proving others wrong. It was about proving to herself that she could overcome any obstacle. Her story even reached local newspapers and television. Reporters came to the gym to interview her, fascinated by her journey. Martha spoke softly but clearly, sharing her love for jiu-jitsu and her belief that anyone could learn it, no matter their age or background. Through all this, Martha remained a source of inspiration. She showed that life could be full of new beginnings, no matter when you started. Her journey taught others that respect, patience, and dedication were the true keys to success, not just in jiu-jitsu, but in life itself. The gym that once laughed at her was now proud to have her as part of their family. Martha had changed not only the way they saw her, but also how they saw themselves. They learned that sometimes the greatest strength comes from the quietest places. And Martha? She simply smiled and kept training, knowing that her story was far from over. There were still many techniques to master, many students to teach, and many moments to enjoy on the mat. Her journey was a reminder that it's never too late to follow your passion and become the best version of yourself. The days and months passed, and Martha's journey at the gym continued to unfold in ways no one had expected. The old woman who had once been laughed at and underestimated had become a beacon of strength, patience, and wisdom. But her story was not just about surprising others with a single victory. It was about the ongoing path of learning, teaching, and inspiring people from all walks of life. After her victory against Travis, Martha did not stop training or teaching. Instead, she grew even more dedicated. She showed everyone that true mastery wasn't just about winning matches, but about understanding the art deeply, respecting others, and being humble in success and failure. Her calm attitude and steady work ethic influenced many around her. One of the most beautiful things about Martha's journey was the friendships she built. Students who once ignored or mocked her now looked to her for advice, guidance, and encouragement. The gym, which had felt competitive and sometimes harsh, began to feel more like a community, a family where people supported each other, no matter their age or skill level. Martha herself learned a lot from her students too. The younger fighters brought new techniques and ideas, keeping her knowledge fresh and relevant. She listened carefully to their experiences and shared her own stories. This exchange of knowledge bridged generations and made the gym a place of growth for everyone. Life outside the gym also changed for Martha. Her confidence blossomed, and she found joy in simple moments: a friendly chat, a smile from a student, or the quiet satisfaction after a good workout. She felt younger in spirit, even as her body aged. Jiu-Jitsu had given her a new sense of purpose and belonging. One day, a special event was organized at the gym, a celebration of Martha's journey and achievements. Friends, students, and coaches gathered to honor the woman who had taught them so much. There were speeches, laughter, and heartfelt stories shared. Martha listened quietly, touched by the warmth and respect surrounding her. During the event, Coach Daniel presented Martha with a new belt, a black belt. It was a symbol of her skill, dedication, and impact. For Martha, it was more than a piece of cloth. It was a recognition of her lifelong commitment and the obstacles she had overcome. She accepted it with grace, feeling proud but humble. The moment inspired many in the gym to reflect on their own journeys. Martha's story became a reminder that it's never too late to chase dreams, to learn, and to grow. Her life showed that age is just a number, and what truly matters is the heart and will to keep moving forward. Even after earning her black belt, Martha didn't stop training. She continued to explore new techniques, challenge herself, and help others. Her approach was always thoughtful and patient. She knew that every day brought new lessons and opportunities. Martha's journey also sparked interest beyond the gym. Local newspapers and TV stations featured her story, and she received invitations to speak at community centers and senior groups. She talked about the power of perseverance, the joy of learning, and the importance of believing in oneself. Her message resonated with many people who felt discouraged or stuck in their own lives. Martha encouraged them to try new things, no matter their age or background. She proved that it's never too late to start a new chapter and make a positive change. The gym became a place where people of all ages felt welcome and inspired. Beginners found courage seeing Martha's example. Advanced students learned to respect the fundamentals, and the entire community grew stronger because of the kindness, wisdom, and dedication she brought. In the end, Martha's story was not just about jiu-jitsu or winning matches. It was about human spirit, resilience, and the beautiful journey of life. She showed everyone that with patience, hard work, and a humble heart, we can overcome challenges and become the best versions of ourselves. Her legacy lived on in the gym and in the hearts of those she touched. People talked about the old woman, who had been ridiculed but rose to become a champion, not because she was the fastest or strongest, but because she never gave up. Martha had become a symbol of hope and strength, inspiring generations to come. And so, with each day, Martha continued her journey, quietly, steadily, and with a smile, reminding us all that true strength comes from within, and it is never too late to rewrite your story.